It was a quiet night over the Pacific Ocean. The stars shimmered above like diamonds scattered across a black sea. When every satellite around Earth suddenly went dark, people across the world looked up as the sky filled with light. A gigantic alien warship appeared, silent and glowing. Blocking the moon, panic spread fast. Governments shouted orders, fighter jets scrambled, news channels filled with breaking headlines. But then the voice came. Not from speakers or radios, but directly into every human mind. Calm and deep, echoing through every heart. I come for the one who spoke to the stars. No one understood what it meant, until a name appeared on every screen, written in light. Dr. Ilara Hayes. Ilara was an ordinary woman to most. A linguist who studied forgotten signals and strange transmissions. She lived alone in a small apartment filled with dusty books and soft music. When the name flashed, her teacup fell from her hand. She whispered, "That's me," her voice trembling. Within hours, soldiers arrived at her door. Helicopters roared overhead. Scientists and generals surrounded her, demanding answers. "What does the alien want from you?" they asked, but Ilara didn't know. All she had ever done was decode a mysterious signal years ago, a signal she believed was a greeting from a distant civilization. Now that civilization had come, the world watched as Ilara was escorted to a military base near the coast. There she saw the ship up close for the first time. It wasn't metal but alive, its surface pulsing like a heartbeat, veins of blue light running across it. As if it breathed, a door opened. Tall alien soldiers stepped out. Their armor shimmered like liquid light, and their leader followed, towering above them. His silver skin reflecting the stars. His eyes burning gold, every human in sight froze in fear. He spoke again, not through sound, but through thought. His voice filled every mind. "Dr. Ilara Hayes," he said, "you are the one who spoke to me across the dark." Ilara stepped forward slowly, her heart pounding. She could barely breathe. "Who are you?" she asked softly. The alien warlord looked at her for a long moment, then knelt on one knee before her, shocking everyone. Soldiers raised their weapons but froze as he lowered his head. "I am Commander Alien of the 7th Star Legion," he said, his golden eyes glowing brighter. "And you are the only one I will ever obey." Gasps filled the air. The general shouted, "Stand down! Don't approach!" But no one moved. Everyone could feel something powerful around them, like invisible energy crackling through the wind. Ilara took a small step closer. "Obey me?" she repeated, her voice soft but shaking. "Why would you obey me?" Alien raised his gaze, his expression full of something strange. Not anger, not submission, but deep reverence. "Your voice saved my world," he said. 1,000 years ago, when my people were lost in the void, we heard a human voice. Your voice calling across the galaxies. The signal you sent awakened our world. It became our guiding light. Ilara shook her head, her mind spinning. "That's impossible," she whispered. "That message was sent only 5 years ago." He stood slowly, his tall figure casting a shadow over her. "Time is not the same between our worlds," he said. "But your voice reached us when we needed it most, and by our law, I am bound to serve the one who carries that voice." She stared at him, unsure if she should run or believe. Around them, soldiers aimed their guns nervously, but Alien didn't even glance at them. He only looked at Ilara, his eyes softening. "Come with me," he said gently, extending his hand. "You are not safe here. They will fear what they do not understand." Ilara felt the air change, a hum vibrating through her body. The ship behind him shimmered like water under moonlight. Her fear mixed with curiosity. Her heart whispered something she couldn't explain. She looked at the humans around her, their faces cold, uncertain, scared, and then back at Alien, who waited silently. Finally, she said in a trembling voice, "If I go with you, will you bring me back?" He smiled faintly, his golden eyes glowing warmer. "If you command it," he said, "I will." The ship's light surrounded her, wrapping her in warmth and energy, and in that instant, Earth disappeared beneath her feet. The last thing she heard before everything faded into stars was his voice, soft but certain. "You are the one I'll always obey." The stars stretched endlessly outside the ship's great windows, rivers of silver light drifting through the dark. Ilara stood near the edge, watching them pass, her heart caught between wonder and fear. Everything felt like a dream she could not wake from. The hum of the alien vessel vibrated gently beneath her feet, alive like a heartbeat. Whispering softly in a language she almost understood, Commander Alien stood a few steps behind her. silent as always. His presence filled the room like a quiet storm. His armor glowed faintly, and his golden eyes reflected the distant galaxies. He had not taken his gaze off her since the moment she arrived. Ilara finally turned to him, her voice trembling. "Why did you bring me here?" she asked. "Why me?" Alien bowed his head slightly, his tone calm but deep. "Because the prophecy spoke of you," he said. "The one whose voice saved my world. The one my soul is bound to obey." She frowned, shaking her head. "That's impossible," she whispered. "I sent a signal for research, a scientific experiment." Nothing more. Alien's eyes softened. "For you it was research," he said. "For us, it was salvation." He walked closer, his steps slow and steady. "Our world was dying, our people lost in war and silence until your message reached us. It carried words we could not fully understand, but the emotion within it, the hope, the light, it changed everything." Ilara's chest tightened. "You're saying my message saved your world?" she asked. "I don't even remember what I said." He smiled faintly, a rare and quiet expression. "You said you are not alone," he whispered. Those 4 words became our prayer. The air around them shimmered, a low sound vibrating between them, and Ilara felt something strange inside her, a pulse that didn't belong to her heartbeat. She pressed her hand against her chest and gasped softly. What is that?" Alien's voice grew gentle. "The bond," he said. "It awakens." She took a step back, fear flickering in her eyes. "Bond?" she repeated. "What bond?" He looked at her with a mixture of pride and sorrow. "When your signal reached us, it carried not only sound but energy, something ancient, something that bound your essence to mine. Our minds are connected now. Your emotions echo in me, and mine in you." Ilara shook her head again. "No, that can't be real," she said. "You're an alien, I'm human." "That's not possible." But before she could speak again, she felt it, a rush of warmth spreading through her body, a feeling that wasn't hers, calm, steady, protective. She looked at him and realized it came from him, from Alien, their minds brushing together like 2 waves meeting at the shore. Her breath caught. "I can feel you," she whispered. Alien nodded. "And I can feel you," he said softly. "Your fear, your confusion, your strength." Ilara turned away, trying to steady herself. "This isn't right," she said. "I shouldn't be part of this." He moved closer, his voice steady but kind. "You already are," he said. "Your world will soon see what comes after us. The Devourers are moving again. They destroyed 10 worlds before ours, and they will come for Earth next." She looked back at him sharply. "Devourers," she repeated. "What are they?" His face darkened. "Machines born from war," he said. "They consume life, they consume stars, they do not stop until nothing remains." Ilara felt her stomach twist. "And you think I can help you fight them?" she asked. Alien stepped even closer, the distance between them almost gone. "Not think," he said quietly. "I know. You carry the voice of creation, the frequency that binds, that heals, that commands. The same energy that saved my people can stop them." She looked into his glowing eyes, searching for doubt, but there was none. He truly believed every word. Ilara sighed, her voice shaking. "Even if what you say is true, I'm not a warrior. I'm just a linguist." He smiled again, slow and soft. "Words can move galaxies," he said. "You already did." Silence filled the room for a moment. Only the hum of the ship remained. Then a faint tremor passed through the floor. The lights flickered and Alien's eyes narrowed. "They've found us," he said, his tone turning sharp. Ilara felt her heart race. "Who?" "The humans," he replied. "They fear what they cannot control. They have sent ships to capture you." Alarms echoed through the corridors. Alien soldiers moved quickly, their armor shining under red light. Alien turned to her, his voice low. "Stay behind me," Ilara hesitated. "If they're human, maybe I can talk to them," she said. He looked at her, his golden eyes fierce. "If they take you, they will use you," he said. "They will tear apart what they do not understand." Before she could answer, the ship shook again. Beams of light flashed outside the windows, human fighter craft surrounding them. She could feel Alien's emotions surging through the bond, not fear, but anger and protectiveness, his entire being focused on one thing, her safety. He reached out his hand to her. "Trust me," he said, "and you will live." Ilara's hand trembled as she placed it in his. The bond flared to life again, a wave of energy rushing through them. For a brief moment, she saw flashes of his memories, burning worlds, endless battles, loneliness, and devotion. Then in a single instant, the ship disappeared from Earth's sky, leaving behind only silence and somewhere far beyond the moon. Alara realized that her life on Earth was over, and something far greater had just begun. The darkness of space was silent, but Alara could feel something heavy pressing on her chest. The hum of the alien warship had changed, deeper, faster, as if the ship itself could sense danger. She stood on the bridge beside Alien, watching endless stars on the screen ahead, each one flickering like a heartbeat in the black. Alien soldiers moved swiftly around them, their faces calm but their eyes sharp. They were preparing for battle. Alara could tell even without understanding their language. She could feel their fear through the strange bond that linked her to Alien. Their anxiety echoed inside her like waves in a storm. "What's happening?" she asked quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Alien turned to her, his golden eyes darker than before. "They are coming," he said. "The Devourers." Alara frowned. The name sent a chill through her. "The machines you talked about?" she asked. "The ones that destroy worlds?" He nodded slowly. "Yes," he said. "And they have found our trail. They feed on energy, on life. On stars themselves, they erase everything. And now they have set their eyes on your world." Alara's hands tightened. "Earth?" she breathed. "They're coming for Earth?" Alien looked toward the stars again, his face unreadable. "They are drawn to your voice," he said. "To the power you carry within you. Your message that reached across time did more than awaken us. It awakened them too." Alara took a step back, shaking her head. "That can't be," she said. "I was only sending a signal, just a message of peace." Alien's voice deepened, low and full of regret. "Peace is a light," he said. "And light always attracts shadows." The ship's sensors beeped, strange alien symbols flashing red across the glass. Alien spoke a command in his native tongue, his soldiers responding instantly. A shimmering blue shield wrapped around the vessel, glowing softly like moonlight over the sea. Alara looked out and gasped. From the far edge of space, something massive was moving. Shapes like floating mountains, black and alive, crawling toward them. They looked like broken pieces of planets stitched together. But they pulsed with red fire. The Devourers, even from a distance, Alara could feel them. Like a sickness spreading in the stars, Alien's hand clenched on the railing. "They have grown stronger," he muttered. "We cannot face them here." Alara turned to him quickly. "Then where can we go?" He hesitated, his eyes flickering toward her. "To the ruins of Erythra," he said. "An old world, forgotten. It is where your signal was first received. The heart of the prophecy. Perhaps it holds the answers we need." Alara didn't understand everything, but she nodded. "Then we go there," she said firmly. Alien looked at her with quiet surprise. "You would risk yourself for a world you do not know." She smiled faintly, nervous but brave. "I already left the one I did," she said. "So I guess I don't have much to lose." He studied her for a moment, then turned back to his soldiers, his voice rising with authority. "Prepare for the jump," he ordered. "All units brace for warp." The ship began to tremble, lights dimming. The stars stretched into thin lines as the vessel leapt through space faster than thought. Alara felt her body pulled forward, her vision blurring. And in that moment, through the bond, she felt Alien's focus, sharp and steady, anchoring her, keeping her from being torn apart by the vastness. When the jump ended, they stood above a world unlike any she had ever seen. Erythra, a planet glowing faint red, its surface cracked like glass. Rivers of light flowing through its veins. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "It was," Alien said softly. Before the war, the ship descended slowly, dust swirling as they landed. The air shimmered with strange energy. Alara felt a faint hum in her mind, familiar, like the same sound she heard when decoding that mysterious signal years ago. She followed Alien down the ramp, the alien ground soft beneath her boots. Ancient ruins surrounded them, tall spires reaching toward the stars, covered in symbols she couldn't read. But something about them called to her. As she touched one of the glowing stones, her mind flooded with images. A city of light. People like Alien, their world burning. A cry for help sent into the void. And her own voice answering across time. She stumbled back, gasping. "I saw them," she whispered. "Your people, their pain, their hope. Everything." Alien reached out, steadying her. His touch warm despite his cold armor. "The bond is deepening," he said. "You are remembering what connects us." Alara looked up at him, her voice shaking. "Why me, Alien? Why my voice? Why not someone else?" He gazed at her for a long moment. his golden eyes reflecting the ruins around them. "Because your heart spoke what no machine ever could," he said softly. "It spoke truth, it spoke life, and that power cannot be faked. It is part of who you are." Before she could respond, the ground shook violently. The ruins trembled, the air filled with a low, mechanical roar. Alien's eyes widened. "They followed us," he said, from the sky. Massive black shapes descended. Tearing through clouds of dust and fire, the devourers had found them. Alien drew his weapon, a long blade of pure light. "Stay behind me," he commanded. But Ilara felt something rise inside her. The same hum from before, growing louder, stronger, her pulse syncing with the rhythm of the planet itself. She raised her hand, and the ruins responded. Ancient stones glowing brighter, sending beams of blue light into the air. Alien turned in shock, watching as the light wrapped around her like wings, her eyes glowing with the same energy as the ancient stones. "Ilara," he whispered, awe in his voice. "You're awakening the source." The sky exploded with light and shadow. The first battle for Earth's future had begun. The sky above Erythra burned with light and chaos. Alien fire and mechanical shadows clashed across the horizon. The ruins trembled as explosions shook the air. Alien soldiers fought with silent discipline, their glowing weapons slicing through the monstrous devourer drones. Yet for every one they destroyed, two more appeared. Ilara stood near the ancient stone spire, her hands glowing faint blue, the strange energy flowing through her body like lightning through veins. Every pulse she felt seemed to ripple across the planet, awakening something old and powerful beneath the surface. Alien fought like a storm, his blade blazing, his movements precise and unstoppable. He was the warrior every story whispered about, the warlord of the 7th Legion, the one who had never bowed, except to her. Ilara reached out through their bond, feeling his strength, his focus, but also the deep fear buried inside him, the fear of losing her. She whispered through the link, "Alien, they're too many, we have to leave." He turned his golden eyes toward her, his armor cracked and burning. "Not until I know you are safe," he said, his voice like thunder wrapped in calm. Before she could answer, a blinding flash tore across the sky. A new ship entered the battle, smaller, sleeker, unmistakably human. Ilara's breath caught. "That's Earth's fleet," she said, relief flooding her heart for a moment. "They came to help." But Alien's expression didn't change. His voice was quiet, almost sad. "No, they came for you." Ilara's eyes widened as the human ship fired, not at the devourers, but at Alien's vessel. Explosions ripped through his fleet. Alien soldiers screamed in pain. Alien looked up in disbelief, his voice low and broken. "They betrayed you." Ilara stumbled backward, unable to understand. No, they wouldn't," she said. "They think they're saving me." Alien's golden eyes flashed with anger. "Not at her, but at the sky. Saving you?" he said, "by destroying everything that protects you." A beam of light shot from the human ship, striking the ground near the ruins. Ilara covered her face as dust and fire filled the air when the smoke cleared. Armored humans surrounded her, their helmets dark, their voices sharp through comms. "Target secured," one said. "Move in." "Alien," she cried out, but before he could reach her, one of the soldiers threw a pulse grenade. The blast hit him hard. His armor shattered. His body fell to one knee. "Stand down," Ilara shouted, her voice trembling. "Stop, he's not the enemy." But they didn't listen. They grabbed her by the arms, pulling her back, her feet scraping the dirt. Alien tried to rise, his hand reaching toward her. His voice filled her mind through the bond, weak but burning with determination. "Do not be afraid. I will find you." Tears blurred her vision. "Don't," she whispered. "You're hurt." He smiled faintly, blood running down his face. "I have survived worse," he said, "because I obey only you." A blast hit the ground between them, cutting off their connection. The light swallowed her and everything went black. When Ilara opened her eyes again, she was inside a white chamber, sterile and cold. Human scientists moved around her, their voices distant and mechanical. She tried to move, but her wrists were bound by glowing restraints. "Where am I?" she asked weakly. A familiar face appeared. General Sloan, the man who had sent her to meet Alien in the first place, his expression cold. "You're safe, Doctor," he said. "We've extracted you from alien control." Ilara's heart sank. "He wasn't controlling me," she said softly. "He saved me," Sloan frowned. "You don't understand. That creature has altered your mind. Your DNA is now contaminated with alien code. We're studying how deep it goes." She struggled against the restraints. You're hurting him, she said. He'll come for me, the general sighed. That's exactly what we're counting on. Her stomach twisted, realization hitting her like ice. You're using me as bait, she whispered. Sloan didn't answer. He just turned away. We need him contained, he said to his team. Prepare the holding fields. Hours passed. Ilara sat alone. The bond between her and Alien faint but alive. She could feel his pain, his rage, his desperate search through the stars. She tried to reach out with her thoughts, whispering through the silence, Alien, please don't come. It's a trap. But somewhere far away she felt his answer, faint but burning. No one cages the warlord of Erythra. She felt his power rising like a storm waking from sleep. In the command room, alarms began to blare, lights flickering red. Something's entering orbit. A soldier shouted, It's him! The entire base shook. The sky outside turned gold as Alien's ship descended through fire. His voice thundered through every communicator. You dared to take her from me? Ilara's heart raced, fear and hope twisting together. She knew he would come. She knew he would destroy everything if it meant saving her. And deep inside, beneath the fear, a small part of her wanted him to. The walls trembled, power flickered. And as the ceiling cracked open, light poured through. The silhouette of the alien warlord appeared. Broken armor, glowing eyes, fury in every breath. He reached his hand toward her as alarm screamed around them. Ilara, he said, obey no one but your heart. And in that moment, the bond between them burst into pure light, tearing through metal and glass, the world around them dissolving into brilliance and chaos. Smoke filled the ruined base, alarms screamed in every direction, and the walls cracked like thunder. Soldiers ran for cover, shouting orders that vanished beneath the roar of falling metal. The air burned with the scent of fire and electricity. In the center of it all stood Alien, the alien warlord. His body torn and armor shattered, but his eyes, those golden, unyielding eyes, burned brighter than ever. He moved through the chaos like a storm made flesh, each step shaking the ground. Bullets and beams struck him but vanished in sparks against his armor. The power of the bond between him and Ilara flared stronger with every heartbeat, guiding him, pulling him toward her like destiny's hand. Ilara, trapped in a containment chamber, felt his energy surging closer. Her restraints glowed, reacting to the same strange power inside her. She struggled, whispering through the link. Alien, stop. They'll kill you. His voice answered in her mind, calm but fierce. They will not touch you. The door to her cell exploded open, light and smoke spilling into the room. Through it came Alien, his silhouette framed by fire, his face streaked with battle marks and pain. But when he saw her, his expression softened. His fury melting into devotion, he reached for her, his massive hand trembling slightly as he touched her shoulder, the energy between them pulsing like a heartbeat. You're hurt, he said softly. Ilara shook her head, tears filling her eyes. No, not anymore, she whispered. You shouldn't have come. He smiled faintly. I obey only one voice, he said. And it called to me. Behind him, human soldiers regrouped, their weapons glowing with blue light. Fire, the general shouted. Beams of plasma streaked through the air. Hitting the walls, Alien turned sharply, wrapping his arms around Ilara. A golden shield burst from his body. Blocking the attack, the blast echoed like thunder. But he did not move. Ilara pressed her hand against his chest, feeling his heart beating fast and strong. Alien, she said softly. You'll die if you stay. He looked down at her, his voice low and certain. Then I will die where I belong. The soldiers reloaded, the air buzzing with tension. Alien lifted his arm and the ground trembled. Energy from the planet below surged up through the walls, shattering glass, disabling weapons, and tossing the soldiers aside like leaves in a storm. Hold on to me, he said, and before she could breathe, they vanished in a burst of light. When Ilara opened her eyes, she saw stars, endless, shimmering stars stretching across the dark. They were aboard his ship again, but it was damaged. Sparks flying from panels, alarms flashing red. Alien staggered slightly. His strength fading, she grabbed his arm. Panic in her voice. You're bleeding, she said. Let me help. He shook his head, his voice soft. You already have, he said. Every moment you breathe gives me reason. She led him to the med bay, the alien lights glowing blue as she tried to heal him using the strange devices around her. The bond between them pulsed again. Stronger than ever, she could feel his pain, but she could also feel his love. Pure, unwavering, endless. Alien reached for her hand, his fingers brushing hers gently. Do you feel it? he whispered, the connection between us. Alara nodded slowly. It's like you're part of me now, she said. Like we share the same heartbeat, he smiled weakly. That is because we do, he said. When your voice reached my world, it carried your essence, your soul. It bound us across galaxies, across time itself. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I never meant to do that, she said softly. I only wanted to make contact. I never thought anyone would hear. And yet, he said, lifting her hand to his chest, here I am, obeying a voice that was never meant for me, and yet became my reason to exist. Ilara's heart ached. You gave up everything for me, she said. Your army, your world. He nodded slowly. A warlord can rule 1,000 worlds, he said. But none of them mean anything without a heart to serve. She stared at him, her eyes filled with emotion, the hum of the ship fading into silence around them. Alien, she whispered, why me? He leaned closer, his voice almost a breath. Because in your eyes, I found peace, he said, and in your voice, I found home. Before she could answer, the ship shook violently again. Alarms blaring, the Devourers were back, tracking their energy signature across space. Alien tried to stand but stumbled, his wound still deep. Alara caught him, her own power beginning to rise again, the light from her hands matching the glow of his armor. You can't fight like this, she said. Let me help, he looked at her, his golden eyes soft. You cannot fight them alone. She smiled faintly, determination burning through her fear. Maybe not alone, she said, but with you. Yes, the bond flared brighter than ever before, their thoughts and emotions merging. For a moment they were one, his power, her voice, their hearts in perfect rhythm. Energy burst from them, golden and blue light spiraling through the ship, repairing its damage, awakening its systems. Alien looked at her in awe. You're controlling it, he said. The source answers to you, Alara breathed heavily, her eyes glowing. No, she whispered. It answers to us. The ship roared back to life, the stars bending as it prepared for battle once again. But this time, they were not just a warlord and a human. They were something new, something powerful. As they stood side by side, Alien turned to her, his voice low and sincere. Tell me what you command, he said. She looked up at him, her expression soft but firm. Then obey me, she said, and stay. For the first time, the great warlord smiled, a genuine human smile. Always, he whispered, and together, they flew toward the gathering darkness, bound by destiny, by devotion, and by a promise that neither space nor time could ever break. The stars burned red as Alien's ship crossed the threshold into the Devourer's domain. The void itself seemed alive, whispering with voices of 1,000 conquered worlds. Alara stood at the control panel, her heart pounding as strange energy pulsed through her veins. She had never felt so alive, yet so terrified. Beside her, Alien adjusted the ship's systems, his golden armor still damaged but glowing faintly. The fire in his eyes had not dimmed. If anything, it burned stronger, sharper. They will come for us soon, he said quietly. This time they will not stop. Alara turned to him, her voice steady though her hands trembled. Then we don't stop either, she said. Not until this ends. The sensors screamed suddenly. Dozens of massive ships appearing out of the void, each one shaped like a dark beast with glowing red cores, their weapons aimed at Alien's ship. The Devourer fleet had arrived. They're surrounding us, Alara whispered, her voice shaking. Alien placed his hand on the console, the ship responding instantly to his touch. Let them, he said. I've waited for this moment. The enemy hailed them, a cold metallic voice filling the ship. Alien of Vedra, it said. You have betrayed your kind and allied with a human. Surrender the source or be erased. Alara felt her blood run cold. She looked at Alien. The source, she said. That's what they want, isn't it? He nodded slowly. It's the power that connects all life, he said. They consume it to feed their endless hunger. But when you reached across space with your signal, the source responded to you instead. The voice spoke again. Last warning, Alien, it said. Obey or perish. Alien stood tall, his voice calm and strong. You speak of obedience, he said, but I obey only one voice now. Alara felt her chest tighten as he glanced at her, a silent promise glowing in his eyes. The Devourers fired first, their weapons lighting the void with red energy. The ship shuddered violently, alarms flaring. Alara held onto the controls, trying to stabilize the systems. They're too many, she shouted. We can't fight them all. Yes, we can, Alien said, stepping forward, his armor beginning to glow. Because we are not two anymore. The bond between them flared to life, golden and blue light swirling around their bodies. Alara felt his strength rushing through her, and he felt her heartbeat echoing in his chest. Together they reached for the source, the ship trembling as if alive. Energy poured from them like a storm. The ship's weapons charged beyond normal limits. Light bursting from every cannon, Alien raised his hand, shouting a command in his ancient tongue. Beams of light shot outward, tearing through the Devourer fleet. Explosions rippled across the dark sky Alara could barely see, her vision filled with light and fire. "Alien!" she cried. "You're burning too much energy." He turned to her, his expression peaceful. "Then I'll burn with purpose," he said. "As long as you live." "No," she said fiercely, tears in her eyes. "You promised to stay, remember?" He smiled faintly. "Then stay with me," he said. Until the stars themselves fade, the ship rocked again. Another wave of enemy fire struck them. Alara's hands glowed as she pushed back, her power spreading through the controls, shielding them. The energy between them pulsed brighter. For a moment it felt like time itself paused. Then everything went silent. The red lights of the Devourer fleet dimmed. One by one their ships lost power. The energy that gave them life drained away. The source within Alara and Alien had spread through space like a heartbeat, cleansing the corruption. Alien collapsed to his knees, his strength failing. Alara caught him before he hit the floor. No, stay with me," she whispered. "You can't leave me now," he smiled weakly, his voice barely a whisper. "Look," he said, "the stars, they're alive again." Alara looked through the viewport, the endless darkness now filled with glowing light. The broken stars reignited, the galaxies reborn, the universe healing. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she looked back at him. "You did it," she said. "You saved everything." He shook his head gently. "We did it," he said, "you and I." She held his hand tightly. "Then don't go," she whispered. "Stay, Alien." He closed his eyes, his voice fading. "As long as you call my name," he said softly, "I will find you." The ship floated in silence. Surrounded by the reborn stars, Alara pressed her forehead against his chest, feeling the faint pulse beneath his armor. She could still sense him, not gone, but part of something greater. The source glowed around them, wrapping her in light. She looked up through her tears, a faint smile on her lips. "Then I'll keep calling," she said quietly. "Until you answer." The scene faded into golden light, the stars shimmering like whispers of his promise. "You're the only one I'll ever obey." His voice echoed faintly in her mind, a vow that no distance, no death could ever erase. And in that vast silence, love and devotion became eternal, stretching beyond worlds, beyond time, beyond forever. The silence of space had never felt so heavy. The stars glowed faintly around Alara's ship. Drifting through the endless dark, Alien's armor rested beside her, its golden surface dim, its pulse gone. Yet she could still feel him, faint, distant, like a heartbeat echoing through time. Days passed. Though time meant nothing among the stars, Alara barely slept. She moved through the empty corridors, hearing his voice in her memories, his words replaying again and again. "As long as you call my name, I will find you." She touched the main console. Whispering softly, "Alien," she said, "can you hear me?" The lights flickered faintly, a soft hum answered her, and her chest tightened with hope. The source energy still flowed inside her, glowing whenever she spoke his name. She didn't understand it fully, but she could feel that the connection between them hadn't broken. It had only changed. Then one night, as she floated through the galaxy's edge, the stars began to move, forming strange shapes and symbols she didn't recognize. The air inside the ship vibrated with a deep, resonant sound. It wasn't mechanical. It was alive. It was him. The console lit up, golden light spreading through the floor like veins of fire. Alara stumbled back, shielding her eyes. The ship's AI spoke, its voice trembling. "Energy signature detected, impossible levels. Matching frequency, Alien." Her breath caught. "It's him," she whispered. "He's coming back." A beam of light filled the chamber, twisting, swirling, and taking shape. At first she saw only fragments, armor, a hand, a faint outline. And then he stood before her, solid, real, and alive. Alien, the warlord who had defied gods and galaxies, returned from the source itself, his eyes glowing brighter than ever, his voice deep and soft. "You called me," he said. "And I came." Alara couldn't move. Her tears fell freely. She reached for him, afraid he might vanish again. But his hand met hers, warm and real. She gasped. "You're here," she whispered. "You came back." He smiled gently. "You kept your promise," he said. "You called and the source heard. It brought me through." She laughed through her tears. "You said you'd obey only my voice," she said. "And you really did," he nodded. "It was never obedience," he said softly. "It was devotion." They stood together, the ship's lights dimming around them as if the universe itself bowed in silence. Alien looked out at the stars, his expression calm but distant. "The war is over," he said. "But something greater has begun." Alara frowned slightly. "Greater?" She asked, "What do you mean?" He turned to her, his gaze deep and filled with warmth. "The source is changing," he said. "It no longer belongs to the Devourers or the Vadrins. It belongs to us and to those who can love beyond boundaries, who can see unity in difference." She stepped closer, feeling his heartbeat against her palm. "Then what happens now?" she asked softly. He smiled faintly. "Now," he said, "we build something new." He led her to the front of the ship, where the stars were brighter than ever before. Together they watched as new worlds shimmered into existence, born from the energy released by their final battle. Planets forming, glowing with life. Alara gasped. "It's beautiful," she said. "You created life." He shook his head. "We did," he said. "Your heart gave it form. My power gave it light." They spent days exploring the newborn worlds, helping shape their skies, their oceans, and their suns. Alara learned how to use her bond with the source to heal and nurture. Alien taught her how to command energy with thought. Their bond grew deeper, stronger, until words were no longer needed. But one evening, as they stood beneath a violet sky on a world of crystal seas, Alien grew quiet, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "What is it?" Alara asked softly. He hesitated before answering. "I am not meant to stay forever," he said. "I came back because you called, but the source still needs balance. It will draw me back when the time comes." Her heart stopped. "No," she said quickly. "Not again, please. I can't lose you twice." He took her hand, pressing it to his chest. "You will not lose me," he said. "Even if my body fades, I will live in the source and the stars and you." Tears shimmered in her eyes. "You always find a way to make goodbye sound beautiful," she said with a sad smile. He brushed a tear from her cheek. "Because love is not an ending," he said softly. "It's the reason the universe continues." The sky darkened, stars flickering like candles. Alien's form began to glow faintly. The same golden light that once saved galaxies. Alara clung to him, her voice breaking. "I'll keep calling your name," she whispered. "Every night, every breath," he smiled, his voice low and tender. "And I will always answer," he said. The light grew brighter, surrounding them both, and when it faded, she stood alone beneath the stars, her heart heavy but full of peace. She looked up, and there, among the constellations, she saw it. A new star burning gold and blue, pulsing like a heartbeat. Her eyes filled with tears as she smiled, whispering softly, "You kept your promise." The voice echoed faintly through the wind, warm and loving. "You're the only one I'll ever obey." And in that endless expanse of stars, the bond between human and alien, between heart and source, became eternal. Not just in legend or memory, but in every corner of the living universe.